Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulihil kareem. So we were doing the chapter of Masa al-Khuffain, to make Masa upon your khufs. And the last thing we discussed was that the same things that nullify your wudu, they will nullify your Masa upon the khuf. So that if you, the normal breakers of wudu, you pass urine, number one, number two, or you pass wind, whatever, then you will make a normal wudu, fresh wudu, and then you make masa upon your khuf, so long as it is within the designated times, which we're going to discuss a bit more at the latest. Here now in today's lesson, we'll discuss a bit more about the exact times, right? But then there's another thing here that also is a breaker, which is not normal for the normal wudu, and that is removing the khuf. So remember, I explained this. If you understand this, remember that the khuf, the primary objective of the khuf is the primary objective of the khuf is to stop the hadith from going into the foot. Right? You understand what I'm saying? The primary objective is to stop. That's why it's a durable, it's a hardy, it's a waterproof material, which we're going to discuss a bit of now, right? So it's a durable, hardy material that it stops, and the word in Arabic is sirayat, from the hadith from going into the foot, right? So now, obviously, if you understand that part here, you'll understand if a person removes that khuf, then obviously that barrier that stopped from the hadith from going to the foot is going into the foot. You understand what I'm saying? So if you remove the khuf completely for the time being, there's going to be a bit more explanation here. What's actually meant by removing the khuf? But for the time being, just understand it this much. If you remove the khuf, then the barrier that stopped the hadith from going into your foot now goes into your foot. And once it goes into your foot, you now have to remove the khuf. Right? See there. وَكَذَا نَزْءُ أَحَدِهِمَا. And then even if you remove one khuf, you'll have to then remove both and wash both and then re-put your khufs on, right? لِتَعَذُرِ الْجَمْعِ بَيْنَ الْغَسْلِ وَالْمَسْلِ. Because of the impossibility al-jami of gathering بين الغسل between making ghusl والمسح and making masah, right? في وظيفة واحدة. It doesn't make sense that one wazifa, one injunction, obligation is split. Half is split into wash and half is split into making masa. Then the next one we said وَكَذَا مُضِيُّ الْمُدَّةِ لِمَا رَوَيْنَا. And also once your time, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam allocated 24 hours for a resident and 72 hours or 3 days for a traveler. So once that time expires, then also you'll have to remove it, wash your feet, and then re-put it on. You don't have to make a complete new wudu, right? وَتَمَّتِ الْمُدَّةُ, right? So وَكَذَا مُدَّةُ لِمَا وَإِذَا تَمَّتِ الْمُدَّةُ نَزَعَ خُفَّيْهِ. When the time is completed, you will remove the khuf. وَغَسَلَ رِجْلَيْهِ. You will wash his feet. You don't have to make a wudu, complete wudu. وَصَلَى, you pray. وَلَيْسَ عَلَيْهِ عَادَةُ بَقِيَةِ الْوُضُوء. It's not necessary to repeat the whole wudu. Right. وَكَذَا إِذَا نَزَعَ قَبْلَ الْمُدَّةِ. So this is important also. If the time is not finished, remember nicely, the time is not finished for whatever reason, you decided to remove your khuf. Maybe you forgot. Maybe you forgot that you want to make masa upon the khuf and you remove the khuf. Or maybe your feet were just feeling very, very hot. Or maybe your feet was feeling sweaty. Or maybe you were stinky, whatever reason, and you just decided to remove the khuf and the time is not off. Then if you understood the concept that by removing the khuf, the hadith will go into your foot again, so then you have to then again wash both feet, right? وَكَذَا إِذَا نَزَعَ قَبْلَ الْمُدَّةِ. Why? لِأَنَّ إِنْدَ النَّزْعِ. Because when he removes the khuf, يَسْرِ الْحَدَثُ السَّابِقُ إِلَى قَدَمَيْنِ. The previous hadith, remember you made hadith, you put the khuf on, and you made hadith before that. So that hadith, it came onto the khuf, and the khuf stopped it or prevented it from reaching your foot, right? So now, you can so to say it was hovering around on the khuf. But when you remove the khuf now it went into your foot. So now, because it went into your foot, we'll say now you have to wash your feet again. Are you with me? So the previous hadith, it went into your foot. There's a saying لأن إن الناس يسري الحدث السابق إلى قدمين كأنه لم يغسلهم, as though he never washed it. So you must wash it again, right? Now, The next masla is very important. When we say when you remove the khuf, what constitutes the removal of a khuf? Interesting. See, okay, let's just look at my sock here. Here's my sock here, right? This is my sock here, right? So this here is considered to be the foot part. Let's go. So for those who can't see here, let's say from the toes till the heel, this is called the foot part, right? And from here up, this is called the sock. What is this called? The sock, right? So what he's saying is when your foot comes out of the foot part and it comes to this part, the sock here, look here, it comes from here till here. Then we say, even though your foot technically is still in the hoof, it's still in the hoof because say if I took my foot out, say if just like this here, what I'm saying, see my foot was like this here, see here, my foot was like this, there is it. It is out of the hoof, it's out of the foot part, it's in the sock here. So here, what will we say? We'll say your foot is out of your hoof already. So for those that can't see what is happening here, we're just saying is as you're taking your hoof off, your sock, whatever off, your foot will pass through what we call the sock, means the shin portion. So if the foot, the actual foot, we speak about foot, we speak about from the toe till the heel, from the toe till the heel. So the portion from the toe till the heel, if it is not completely out of the hoof, but it moves till the portion of the sock, which is from, we say from the ankle portion till on top, we'll say technically your foot is out of the hoof. And also, even if the whole foot is not removed from the actual sock, but the greater portion, more than 50% of the foot, has come out of the foot portion and it has come into the sock, then also we'll say you took your hoof out and you will have to now remake wudu. Or not make wudu, you have to re-wash your feet. Is that clear, Luqman? You got it? See there. وَحُكْمُ النَّزْعِ, and the law of removing will say, يَثْبُتُ, it is established بِخُرُوجِ الْقَدَمِ إِلَى السَّاقِ, by the coming out of the foot to the shin, right? لأنه لا معتبر به في حق المسح. So in the next bar is interesting. Why are they saying that if you say, but Molana, your foot is still in the hoof. Your foot, you took your foot out of the foot portion, but your foot is still in the sack. It's in the hoof, but in the sack portion. We say, yes, you are correct. It is still in the hoof, but it is in the sack portion of the hoof. In the sack portion, it means nothing. Why it means nothing? Because look here, do you make masa on the sack portion? No. Do you wash in wudu? Do you wash upon the sack portion? No. So that shows you the sack portion is not part of the actual khuf. It is just the extra portion. So when the foot came out of the foot portion, when I say foot portion, again I repeat, means from the toes to the heel, as though technically it came out of the foot. Are you with me? لأنه لا معتبر به في حق المسي, because there's no consideration. If you made masa only on the sack, there's not a masa we learned. If you never make masa from the toes till the, so to say, the ankles, you only made masa on the what? On the sack portion, that masa is not valid. That masa is not valid. So it shows you that it is not part of the foot. It is not a consideration, not considered part of the foot. So if you made masa, it's of no consequences. Hence, when your foot came to that portion, it is of no consequences. And then I told you, the next question is, now when we say the foot came out of the foot portion and it came to the shin portion, how much of the foot? If 50% or more of the foot came out of the foot portion, and so in other words, look here's my foot, yes, here. There's my foot, size 12, right from there till there, right? So if size 6, if my foot is size 12, if size 6 came out of there, so half of my foot, it came into there. So if this is the sock here, right? So if half of this foot here, it came into there, actually not half, but more than half, say 51%, we will say now, so that you have to now take off that hoof and you have to take out the other hoof and you have to wash both feet properly. You understood that? So sometimes maybe, sometimes people, they do things unconsciously. They, they maybe fiddle with their hoof or whatever, they unzip it, whatever. So that won't affect. But yes, if they start pulling the hoof off, and if just a portion of the foot portion came into the shin, no problem. Yes, when 50% or more came out, then you will say. You understood that? So وَكَذَا بِأَكْثَرِ الْقَدَمِ وَالصَّحِيحِ, when more than 50% of the foot comes out into the shin portion, then you will say that now your masa is invalidated. you have to make a fresh washing of your feet. Okay, read the next. Okay, here's a question here. So if you remove your khuf about an hour before the expiry time, you just wash your feet or make full wudu and wear your khuf? No. If your wudu is intact, your wudu was not affected, and you just removed your khuf intentionally or unintentionally, or if the time expired, then you only have to wash your feet and put your khuf back on. The invalidity of your masa does not affect the rest of the wudu. Whether the invalidity of the masa came about as a result of the expiring of the time, or is a result of you removing it. And there's another masa also here, maybe it's coming later on the kitab. If your feet got flooded also, then also you have to remove it. So whichever it is that the time expired or you removed it forgetfully or intentionally, so long as your wudu is intact, that is still intact, right? So understood it. So yeah. So we like, yeah. So the next see read it. وَمَنِ ابْتَدَأَ الْمَسْحَ وَهُوَ مُقِيمٌ فَسَافَرَ. Okay, see what he's saying is, remember, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Remember, we told you, if you are a resident, you are living in your town, you're living in Durban, you're living in Westville, or you're living in P, you're living in Utenek, you're living in Campbell Township, you're living in Lapisland, wherever you're living, as long as you are in your house, you will make masa for 24 hours, and your 24 hours will be calculated from your first hadath. Am I right or wrong? Right now, look at the scenario. You were a musafir, right? Sorry, you were muqim. You went to Utenek, you put on your made wudu, you put on your khuf, whatever. Say, right? Just example, you made wudu at 8 o'clock in the morning, your wudu broke at 10 o'clock, right? But before the time expired, you had to make safar. Whatever reason, you went 3 days Jamaat or you went to go look for Qurbani sheep, whatever. The moment you become a musafir and your 24 hours haven't expired as yet, your time period will switch to 72 hours. So you can calculate from the time you made the hadath the first time, you got an added, not added, you got a complete, I won't say added because you won't add another 72 hours from the time you travel. No, not that. You still calculate from the time you made the hadath for the first time. So I won't say you got to add 72 hours because added 72 hours is wrong. You won't have added 72 hours, but your time frame will change from 24 hours to 72 hours. So if your hadith, you made the hadith, you wore your sock at 8 o'clock, you made the hadith, your wudu broke at 10 o'clock, and at 12 o'clock you decided to travel. So now we'll say as long as you are a musafir, you will calculate 72 hours from that 10 o'clock, which is effectively 3 days. So for 3 days now, you can make masa without removing that khuf. Is it clear? See there. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وَمَنِ ابْتَدَعَ الْمَسْحَ. Whoever started the masa, وَهُوَ مُقِيمٌ, whilst he was a resident, he was a non-traveler, فَسَافَرَ قَبْلَ تَمَامِ يَوْمٍ. Then he decided to travel before the completion of a day and a night. Then masaha ثلاثة أيام ولياليها. He will make masa for 3 days and 3 nights. عملا بإطلاق الحديث, making amal with the generality of the hadith. Why? The hadith is general. That look here, a musafir can make for 3 days and 3 nights. The hadith doesn't say no, only if you started your masa as a musafir, you started your masa as a muqim, you are restricted to 1 day, 1 night. The hadith is general, so we will keep it general. Carry on. Yeah. Remember, I told you before that Hidaayah is not only a book of fiqh, it's a book of usul. Here, teaching us a very, very important usul. You can just look at me 1 minute, now look in the kitab. In Hanafi fiqh, you always look at the last time. That is the criterion. I'll give you a simple example to understand this here. If say since Zohar is from 12 o'clock till 3 o'clock, right? And you pass away at 10 to 3. You know that you don't have an outstanding Zohar namaz because we'll say that you pass away before the time went out. You understand what I'm saying? So you look at the last time. I'll just give you a few examples before I come to the kitab. Another one is this here. Say, for instance, Zohar time come in at 12 o'clock and it goes out at 3 o'clock, right? But na'udhu billah, Allah Ta'ala protect, you never read your namaz and you are musafir. So say, for instance, you started traveling at 10 to 3. You started traveling at 10 to 3, but you never read your namaz. Astaghfirullah, la hawla wa la quwwata. So what qaza must you make? You say, but my whole namaz, I was a muqim. I only traveled 10 minutes before. No, we will say you have to read what? You will have to read a musafir namaz because the last few minutes you're musafir, right? And that's another example to show you. You look at the last minute. I'll give you another example. Say for instance, a woman, she whole period she was clean. She was from 12 o'clock till 3 o'clock, she was clean. She never bleeds, right? So she started bleeding 10 minutes before the expired. What will she have a qada? She will not have a qada. We'll say she was out because the last few minutes she was out. You understand what I'm saying? And on the flip side of the coin, I'll give you the same thing. Maybe she was clean all the time. And just 15 minutes before the exit time of Zohar, here she started bleeding. 10 minutes before Zohar time, 10 to 3, 24, she started bleeding. When we say she must make qada, we'll say no, she must make qada because the last moment she bled. You understood? So having understood that concept and that principle now, that you always look at the last minute, that is the criterion. That is the main thing. So see, if like I told you now, look here, ولأن حكم متعلق بالوقت ويعتبر فيه آخره. That if you look at the hukam of whether you must make masah for 1 day or you must make masah for you can make masah for 3 days, etc., etc. You always consider the last moment, right? So this person who was he put on his hoofs at 8 o'clock and he made hadith at 10 o'clock, even if he so remember he made hadith at 10 o'clock. When he made hadith at 10 o'clock, almost finished. So look here, listen nicely. You put your sock on at 10 o'clock. You made hadith at 10 o'clock. So I told you your time experiences tomorrow 10 o'clock because you made hadith. So even if 10 minutes before 10 o'clock the next day, 15 minutes you start traveling, your whole wazifa will change. Your whole period will change from 72 hours because I showed you, we look at the last time. And the last time you became a musafir, right? You started traveling. You passed the last buildings of your town, right? And I showed you always look at the last time. Yes, if you, as an example, look at this on the contrary, just to show you to understand, Mr. Say, for instance, your time finished at 10 o'clock. So 10 o'clock, the time came out, but you never take your socks off again because there's no salah 10 o'clock. So you left your socks on. But 10 o'clock was finished already. Now you decided to travel. Now you say, hey, look here, I'm a musafir. So now my time changes to 7 to no, no, no. We won't say change because your last minutes where it had the potential to change from 24 hours to 7, you were still a muqim, correct? You're still a muqim at that time. So we look at that last minute. There are a few other masail also where we look at the last minute, and that is a consideration. I can't think about him, but there's a few that came to my mind. I told you like about like passing away, qada, ada, and I told you about the woman getting a menses, and about this one here. There is one to others. If you look in the books of usul, but I can't remember, right? See there. بخلاف ما إذا استكمل المدة للإقامة ثم سافر. But contrary to where the time for Iqamah is complete, I explained this to you. The 10 o'clock passed already, but you never remove your khuf because there was no salah time. Now after 10 o'clock, you decide you're going to travel. Day after the time passed, and now you travel. You don't say, no, I'm a musafir now. Now I can make the masaf for sunnah. No, right? Because we'll say, listen to this nicely. I tell you, it's an abstract concept. But to understand it nicely, just understand like this. We'll say, look at that sock from the side of Shariat. It had the capacity to stop the hadith from going to your feet for 24 hours, right? So the moment the 24 hours lapsed, it lost that capacity. Like, you say, this is valid. you buy something, you buy airtime or something. This airtime was valid for 24 hours, was valid for 3 months. After 3 months, this thing expires, it doesn't have its effect anymore. Or maybe like you buy medicine, you buy this medicine, it's effective for so many months. After so much months, it loses potency. The same thing we say, look here, Shariat has said that for a mukim, the potency of his sock is it can stop the hadas for 24 hours. For a musafir, the potency of the stock is it can stop the hadas for 72 hours. So the moment that 24 hours lapses, which is counted from the time you made hadith, we'll say it's lost its potency. It lost its potency. And since it's lost its potency, we say at 10 o'clock, when the sock lost its potency, the hadith went into your foot. And once the hadith went into your foot, now, once the hadith goes into your foot, it's only one thing. You have to remove and you have to wash, right? So, لأن الحدث قد سرى إلى القدم, right? And we said, and we already discussed this. Those who with us all the time, we said, وَالْخُفُ لَيْسَ بِرَافِئٍ. Your khuf cannot remove the hadas. It can only prevent the hadas from coming into the foot. So after the 24 hours expires, the hadas went into your foot, so you can't remove it from there. So وَلَوْ أَقَامَ وَهُوَ مُسَافِرٌ. But if he, on the contrary, if you were a musafir and you had 3 days, right, and you finished 2 days and you became a mukim, immediately you have to stop because now you're mukim, and mukim is 24 hours, and 24 hours is up already, right? وَلَا أُقَامَ وَمُسَافِرٌ إِسْتَكْمَلَ مُدَّةَ الْإِقَامَةِ. You can only complete the time of iqamat, right? Right, نزع, you will have to remove the khuf, لأن رخصة السفر, because the permission of safar is not there anymore, because he's a mukim. لا تبقى بدونه, it will not remain without it, without the safar. وَإِنْ لَمْ يَسْتَكْمِلْ أَتَمَّ. But yes, if you are now mukim, but you never completed 1 day, 1 night, you still got time, then you can complete the 1 day, 1 night, right? Right? لأن هذه مدة الإقامة, because this is the time of إقامة. وهو مقيم, and he's a mukim. But we stop there, we'll continue tomorrow inshallah. But subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanakallah wa bihamdik, wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. If anything is not clear, please, people shouldn't hesitate to ask. They can send a message on the group, or they can even message on the chat, on the Zoom, inshallah. Allah ta'ala accept your tawfiq. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi.